Welcome back to Real Talk, the show where we sit down with real investors, doing real deals, and unpack what's actually working in today's market. Today's guest isn't just moving properties, he's moving across borders, connecting lenders, and also building bridges across the market. From Texas to Florida to Pittsburgh, and even making global connections, he's proving that with the right model, you don't have to stay local to stay profitable. Jared Casey was a standout college athlete, but now he's trading stadiums for seller appointments and using the same discipline to scale his real estate playbook. We're going to be diving deep into his journey from athletics to acquisitions, how he's using Novations, wholesaling, JVs, and also finance partnership to stay competitive, and also the system that keeps all of it flowing. So if you guys are ready, let's jump right in. Jared, for those who don't know, could you please tell us a little bit about where you're based and what exactly made you pivot from being a student athlete into the real estate?
But first of all, I want to thank Dion and Connor and the Closer Control community to have me on. I'm based out of Louisville, Kentucky. Been here born and raised. And the biggest pivot between being a college athlete and getting into the wholesale space, or whatever you want to call it, we kind of treat it as if we operate the same as a football team would. So we like to say film study is listening to the call recordings from our appointment setters or our assistants. We like to be accountable just like how a football team would. When you can translate everything that you learned in football to this field, there's no way to fail because you just take everything that you learned and everything that's built inside of you, the competitiveness and the drive, the grit that it takes to be a college athlete, put all that into the real estate, you can't fail.
Nice, amazing. So what was your first deal like? Was it a wholesale or a novation? Like, how did it all come together?
My first deal was a wholesale. So when I first began, I started out in my market in Louisville, driving for dollars, the freest way possible, just trying to generate the leads the freest way. I was going to meetups, connecting with buyers. It went about, I want to say 6 to 7 months. And I learned really quick that you can't do this all by yourself. You have to really team up because you're competing against people who have teams. So you're at a disadvantage. It's just like football. You're competing against teams. So the solopreneur wasn't for me. I learned very quickly you have to team up. So I made this JV model. First things first, I joined Sub 2, Paces community, and I connected with all the killers, all the closers, all the people who, the multimillionaires. Not all of them because the community is huge, but I connected with a lot of them. And I had like a list of closers. So I would target sellers and agents and then just send it to the closers. Like, hey, this is the details. This is what I have. I need you to close it. Boom, they close it. Not every time, but that's how I got my first deal. Basically, I just sent it to a closer in Sub 2. He walked me through it and closed on it. It was in a very rural part of North Carolina.
Got it.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you said you've been working across like markets such as like Texas, Florida, Pittsburgh. Why these markets and what's actually distinct about each of them?
You know, we target those markets the most, but we target a lot of random markets. I've closed deals in Iowa and Nebraska at very rural parts, you know, some parts in California. There's just, in our model, we haven't really found a market that we want to solely focus on. But we do a lot of things in certain states. Like we do a lot in Florida and Texas, and I'm starting to do a lot in Pennsylvania. So we just haven't found a market that we want to really stick to yet. And as we progress and get out of the wholesaling phase and get into being real buyers, we want to pick a market that will be best for us as investment properties. So right now we're just kind of nationwide, just targeting all over the place.
Oh, that's great. So like obviously like one of the things which actually made me curious is like you were like a student athlete, right? A star athlete. So what exactly was a mindset shift which helped you the most, especially when you're taking a leap from athletics to entrepreneurship?
Biggest mindset change was making my own schedule and doing things on my own terms. You know, going from being a football player, you're not an entrepreneur. You're getting told what to do. You know, you're getting told when to do it and how to do it. And wholesaling, you just got to listen to the people who are successful and do what they're doing. There's nobody really telling you what to do or really holding you accountable, unless you got partners that hold you accountable. But there's not like that coach that's yelling in your ear. So your mindset change has to be a gear switch. I know in football, I knew my schedule. I knew what I needed to do at a certain time because I was always getting told. I was getting told by the coach. I was getting told by the assistant coach. And wholesaling, you don't get told what to do. So you just got to learn how to do it yourself. Make your own schedule. Be your own boss.
That's amazing. Was there ever like a moment where you like hit a wall where things weren't working, and how did you keep yourself to keep going?
I haven't been doing it long enough to hit a wall. I've been doing this for like a little bit over a year. Hit a wall. I can't say I've hit a wall, but as far as changing my business model, yes. I've had to change my business model several times because I've done a lot of chasing of different avenues that I want to do. I've done a lot of shiny object syndrome. That's what it was. I was suffering from shiny object syndrome. So I did a whole bunch of stuff in a year. So I just kept changing stuff. I was talking to agents only about creative deals. I was marketing wholesalers deals to wrap buyers. I was focusing on cash deals. I was driving for dollars. I've done a lot of just random stuff, just trying to figure out what my best fit is. And now I've kind of figured it out to where I really like acquisitions a lot. So I'm kind of the head of acquisitions on our team. So right now I'm in the midst of teaching other people how to do the same. So I'm still figuring it out, not really hitting a wall. You're going to hit walls in this. You got to keep figuring it out.
So how many deals do you have in motion, if you don't mind sharing?
Currently?
Yeah.
Currently, we've been shifting our focus to novations. So we have about 3 or 4 novations on the market right now. 3 at the moment. It should be 4 by the end of the day. And we have a couple of deals that are on a contract that we're probably going to have to find a investor for, which I like the novations a lot more because you don't really have a dispo process. You give it to the agent and they do all the dispo, they schedule the showing, and you have a good agent. If you have a good agent, it makes it a lot easier than just a regular wholesale, because that's the hardest part about wholesaling. It's not really the acquisitions. Acquisitions is the hardest part. All that work on acquisitions, and then you get the dispo and you can't even find a buyer for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's even worse because you do all that work in acquisitions and it doesn't close. With the market how it is nowadays, it's a buyer's market. So there's a lot more retail buyers out there than there are sellers. And the retail buyers, especially if you're in a good area, there's going to be a lot of retail buyers.
Sure.
So novations are killing right now. They're killing the game. A lot of wholesalers are shifting solely to novation. But yeah, we got a few deals on the table now.
That's amazing. And are you using closer control or any other tech to track all of these activity? How do you stay on top of the game?
Yeah. We've been using, for the past year, we've been using the most simple system that you can think of. And we recently just upgraded to closer control, which is 2 different worlds, because you have AI automation. We don't have to worry about following up on text messages. It does it on its own. I can send out a contract on there. I don't have to go through DocuSign and fill it out myself. We were doing everything the longest way possible with no systems, and we were being successful at it. So now we're just building. We recently just got this system maybe not even 2 weeks ago. So we're still building the system out to where we want it, and we're super excited. And we've recently just partnered with the AI developer that is working on some special things. So we're just super excited for the future.
That's amazing. So I know you obviously do a lot of novations and virtual wholesaling, right? So how do you build trust with sellers when you're not physically there all the time?
That's a good question. When you're talking to a seller on the phone, when you're talking to anybody on the phone, you can kind of sense if they're smiling, if they're laughing, if they're faking it. You can sense that on the phone. If you're genuine on the phone and you're a people person and you make them feel you and you make sure they're heard, I think you can build that connection just as much as if it's in person, shaking a hand. I'm in Louisville, so I'm actually going to start doing a lot of marketing in Louisville with Closer Control. And I think that'll be a big advantage, actually being in person and being able to actually go to the seller and smile and shake their hand. So I haven't actually done that in my experience, but I think that'll be a huge advantage.
Do that. So another question, follow-up, which comes to my mind is when it comes to with joint ventures, right? How do you vet your partners or the structure those deals? How do you do that?
At first, I really wasn't vetting anybody because I was a newbie. So at first, anybody who was closing deals or said they closed deals, I trusted, especially if they were in sub 2. That's also a good way to vet a lot of people. If they're in sub 2, more than likely they're more serious because it's not a free group. But nowadays, there is a vetting process. If I'm going to JV with someone, I don't need to really vet them. You kind of do. If they have the contract, then you do want to vet them. If I'm dispoing somebody else's contract, I want to see the contract. I want to know everything about it. I want to make sure I can schedule showings for the buyer. I need a lockbox code. I need all the details. If you can't provide that, then I probably can't vet you. Just if you can't provide general details about the deal and you have the contract, then I just won't work with you. But when you're vetting people in other aspects, like vetting a borrower, we meet on video conference when we vet borrowers. I want to know everything about you and about your experience. How many flips have you done the last 5 years? Your FICO score, everything. And you're vetting lenders. You got to vet lenders too, because some people they're liars. They say they're lenders, but all they want is that upfront fee, and then you'll never hear from them again. So there's a lot of vetting that goes along with working with people. And I think it's very paramount.
To that. If you don't mind sharing with us, like, could you give us one of like your most recent win, like a deal or a moment that made you like make a step back and say, you know what, this is exactly why I'm in this business?
Yeah. So the most recent one, in my experience, I was doing a lot of my deals with JV partners, and those were smaller deals because I did a lot of creative deals. I was targeting a lot of agents, and we would do creative deals to where we would probably make 3,000 to 5,000 total on the deal. So a lot of my deals were small. And then I met my partner Najee, which has played a mentor role in my acquisitions. And, he's taught me a lot. And I didn't know about Novations. Other than you get the property, you fix it up yourself, and then you sell it for top dollar, and then that's when the seller gets paid. But a novation doesn't have to go that way. A novation can go in a way to where you can just clean up the property, spend a couple hundred to clean it up, and then you can post it. You don't have to go in there and do a bunch of remodeling. So once I found out you didn't have to fix the property up to list it, you can just give it if it's moving ready, you can just give it to the agent to list it. That was a game changer. So my first novation, we actually closed on it, I want to say in April, my first novation. And that was my biggest one. It was a $60,000 deal that we got paid up on.
Wow. And this April, right? That's like just 2 months before.
Yeah, that was 2 months before. That was my first novation.
Nice.
Because I didn't know about novations up until recently because I'm still learning, But now that after that deal, I didn't have to do any dispo on that deal. Didn't have to talk to any buyers. I just spoke to my agent. He brought me all the offers because we listed on MLS. We probably got like 3 offers on that first week, and we probably scheduled there was about 10 showings, 10 people that wanted to schedule showings for the house. After that deal, I just thought it was so easy. There was no dispo process. So just do more novations.
And what advice could you give to someone in their 20s who's like thinking about real estate, but they haven't made their first move yet?
Someone in the early 20s, I think it's always best to start early in whatever you want to do. And if you really want to succeed in this field, there has to be a certain mindset that you have to have. And that mindset needs to be, this has to work. There's no other option. Because for me, I was a football player, but football was really my second option. Once I found out that football doesn't last forever, I came to realize that this was my option, and I made it a mindset change to where this would be my only option. This has to work. And if you don't have that mindset, it probably won't work for you. So I think that's the biggest thing in someone in their 20s.
It's all about the mindset. Like you need to have a strong mindset, keep yourself going. At the same time, I know this is like one of the most challenging business because you have to like get used to the rejections, especially in the initial days, because especially for the people who are starting out, right? You're not going to see much success in the very early days, right? I've talked to a lot of investors, and they told me, like in the initial days, you spend a lot of money on marketing, and then you get certain deals which are like 4K, 6K, and then you end up spending more money on the marketing than on the deal itself. That
exactly.
does encourage a lot of new investors.
And it's another thing for investors. If you have family members who never did what you are doing, it's just smart to listen to them. Like if there's people around you who've never done anything by themselves, they've always worked for someone else, they've never been an entrepreneur, is it really smart to think, I need to listen to this person and their advice? No, it's really, you can listen to them, but take it with a grain of salt. Obviously, if it's a loved one, you want to listen to them, but if they've never done anything you want to do and want to accomplish, then there's no reason to really listen and tone in on that.
Got it. One last question, Jared. So what's next? Like, where do you see your real estate business heading in the next 12 months? And what's the big play you're chasing?
What's next? I mean, the ultimate goal that I'm always looking at is large multifamily. That's the ultimate goal of actually buying properties. But in order to get there, it'll probably take some single families, some 4 units, but ultimately the short-term goal is to start buying properties, whether we're wrapping them, wraparound mortgage, putting a rent to own tenant in there, doing some lease options. Not too big on flips because I can just wholesale it and make the money. But we're more intrigued on buying properties and putting a tenant in there. So right now we're just trying to figure out the markets and just putting all of our ducks in a row on our lenders who we want to use. So that's what we're excited for most, and the new system, closure control, and our new AI assistant that we're integrating into the closure control system. So it's very exciting. Very exciting.
Amazing. Well, there you have it, folks. Jared Casey, star athlete to real estate entrepreneur. So obviously, if you guys are anyway in the market of like Texas, Florida, Pittsburgh, if you guys are doing any deals, JV deals, Novations, wholesaling, you know who to reach out. He's your guy. So thank you so much, folks, for tuning in for this week's episode. Next week, we'll be coming with a new episode with new investor, with new stories, as well as new updates as well. Thank you so much, Jared, once again, for being a part of the show. And that's it for today, guys.